Welcome to Midnight Movie Talk on this Thursday night. I am Eric Weber, and I want to extend a especially gracious welcome to those of you who just subscribed to the channel, new from Film Courage. Latest video just posted there. Funny thing about that video that's on Film Courage, we shot that now like months ago. So when I'm talking about, I hope Thor Love and Thunder is really good for Marvel, that was before it came out. So everyone is aware that that was shot months ago. So it's sort of evergreen, as we call it. But again, thank you for joining here, MMT, on this Thursday. We're back, we're at it, and we're talking tonight. We have a bunch of things to talk about tonight, including DC. Have they found their Kevin Feige? We'll get to that in a moment, but first we start with number one. The Invitation came out tonight. It is Sony's new PG-13 horror film that very much looks like Ready or Not. When you watch this trailer, you're like, hold on for a second. Am I watching Ready or Not, which is truly about as close to a horror masterpiece as I like to get, right? When it gets right there with that horror comedy blend of that film, 2019, Samara Weaving. Oh, man, it's good. Now, okay, so The Invitation is not as good as Ready or Not. Let's make sure that that is 100% clear. But as we pull it up on the screen here and you see the trailer rolling by, let's discuss what this film has going forward. And really, it starts with the lead actress here, Natalie Emmanuel, who you probably know from F9. I imagine some of you watch Game of Thrones. I do not, but apparently she's on that as well. She's very good here. Okay, this is a film about a girl. You've seen the trailer. A girl who discovers she has ancestors over in England. She goes over to this weekend getaway at this estate in the middle of nowhere, England, and she meets her, quote, family. Now, the bad guy is played here by another really strong performance. This guy is going to be a star, okay? Let's make sure this is 100% clear here tonight on Midnight Movie Talk, that we are going to say, and we're calling that Thomas Doherty is going to be a stud soon. This guy has it. As I'm sitting here watching it, I'm watching The Invitation tonight. I'm watching this Thomas Doherty get at it, and he is a combination of Rami Malek and Jude Law in the best way, right? Rami Malek's a weird-looking dude. Okay, we can agree. I met him in person. He was shopping at Zara over in Century City a few years back, and I go, oh my God, it's Rami Malek. I went up and said hello, soft-spoken guy. And let me tell you, I like Rami as an actor, but as a, he's kind of a weird-looking dude. This guy is like if you took Rami Malek and then turn him into like a Ken doll version of Rami Malek. That is Thomas Doherty. Like I said, he's got that Jude Law thing going. He's going to be a star, but he is very good. He steals the picture here. And listen, this is a late August film, a film that Sony didn't even want to show to critics until tonight. They had their press screening tonight, the night it opens. You could have seen it first by going to one of the 4P screenings like I did, rather than driving to one of the critic screenings tonight. I don't know why they buried the film, because The Invitation is not bad at all. Direction here is solid. What I also like about this film is it has a nice long runway into the final confrontation, which sometimes I feel like films really try to rush to that point, and then we get stuck in that for too long. This film actually feels like it has a nice, long, relaxing jaunt on the way in that is just slow enough, a slow enough burn that it doesn't bore you. Again, very surprised here by The Invitation. I mean, for what it is, I'd give it an 8 out of 10, which for me is a B. I mean, it's not bad. And again, it gets back to the performances, especially Thomas Doherty. If you can buy stock in an actor, this is the guy you want to be buying stock in. Apparently, he was on Disney shows and whatnot. He's from Glasgow or from Edinburgh. He's from somewhere in Scotland. He's very good. Okay, so remember this name. Let's go on to topic number 2 here tonight. And this is another movie I forgot all about. I told you we were going to talk about it at some point, and this is how forgettable 3,000 Years of Longing is. I forgot about it until right now. It opens tonight, and you see the lower third. 3,000 Years of Mediocrity. That's what this film is. It's George Miller, and we expect so much from him as a director. Obviously, I'm not as big on Fury Road as a lot of you are, as most people are. I still think it's a very well-made film. As an action film, gadzooks. There's a word that you don't hear often. But overall, I think it just gets exhausting as it goes on. But George Miller's a talent. You look at me, you look at what he does, I think you look at Babe Pig in the City, which is such a cool and weird sequel. One of my favorite strange sequels of all time. Might be one of my favorite sequels of all time for the chances it takes and how bizarre it gets. But George Miller's one of our best living directors, greatest that I would say. I mean, when you see George Miller on the marquee, you're like, okay, this is a name I want to go see. And then you end up with this film with Tilda Swinton and Idris Elba. Idris Elba is the genie inside the magic lamp that Tilda Swinton rubs. And then we get into this long, drawn out, protracted story of love over the ages. And frankly, it's weird. This is a film about love and it has no emotion. Wait a second. We're dealing with a film that should be brimming with emotion, and yet it's not. So 3,000 Years of Longing is just a very flat film, and it's going to absolutely tank this weekend. It's a film that's not going to do anything. I mean, you look at the invitation. I would say somewhere between 6 and 10. We'll put it at 8, split the middle. I think 3,000 Years of Longing could be a real bomb for MGM here. They didn't know what to do with it. They were holding on to it. They moved it up this week from next week. I think it was going to open on Wednesday. They brought it into this tonight, and it's just not going to do any numbers. There's no buzz for this film, and there's a reason. It's just not great. Okay, let's get into a few comments. Then we're going to get into the DC. Have they found their Kevin Feige? The invitation, is it truly worth it? I don't want to leave the cinema absolutely disappointed, or should I swap it out for Orphan Kill? I have not watched Orphan Kill. I cannot comment on that. But I will say that if you're looking for something to watch, you can do way worse than The Invitation, which is very surprising for me to say about this film. 3,000 Years or The Invitation tomorrow, I can tell you very simply, Benjamin, it's this easy. It is The Invitation over 3,000 Years, even though that sounds insane, and I can't believe I'm telling you that here tonight. If you asked me 6 months ago and you showed me these two films on paper, I'd say Invitation versus 3,000 Years of Longing, a generic PG-13 horror film, or George Miller. You pick George Miller, but after seeing both films, I have to lean towards The Invitation, which is shocking. So I would recommend the film. I mean, I'm recommending it. Gone Girl, it's okay, right? I'm not saying it's great, but I expected something bad because when Sony was burying this film, and they didn't want anyone to see it until tonight. So that means usually the movie's terrible. I mean, Universal had a horror film a few years back. What the hell was it called? The ending was one of the worst endings of all time. Someone's gonna remind me of this movie. It was a Universal horror film. I want to say like The Happening. It was not The Happening. It's something like that. Okay, it was terrible. That's a film you want to bury. But The Invitation is actually decent. Okay, it's actually decent. Let's get into our next topic, and we'll come back to the comments because this is a biggie. Dan Lynn, do you know the name? Well, you better learn the name because this could be our next head of DC film. Here it is. Let's pull it up. THR has the best article about it, and you see it here. DC's Kevin Feige. Have they found him? Producer Dan Lynn in talks to take control of film, TV, all of it for DCEU. He's going to take it over, and then you're going to see Walter Hamada exit, and here comes David Zaslav looking at this Dan Lynn. Now, Dan Lynn is a producer of the Lego movies. Lego movie back in 2014. He went on and did a whole bunch of things. He's done Aladdin. He did Lego Batman. Let's see what else. It's got all this stuff here. But when you look at somebody, you want someone who is obviously not 100 years old, so he fits that profile. You want someone who knows their way around Hollywood, which Lynn does. I mean, you look, he used to work with Alan Horn, who is the former Disney chair, and now he's an advisor for Warner Brothers. He worked for Horn, and then he did things like The Departed. I guess he worked on that, and then he started with the Justice League. Okay, do you remember? Here's the funny thing is, you remember Justice League, the George Miller, speaking of George Miller, they had a version of Justice League getting ready to go with George Miller, which would have been a hell of a film because George Miller makes weird stuff. Unfortunately, 3,000 Years Long is just mid-forgettable stuff. But if you give younger George Miller Justice League, I think that's a badass film. They had the writer's strike in 2008. That really messed that film up. But Dan Lynn's been around, and he has a lot of contacts in the business. And listen, if you're getting called to possibly be the person who is going to take over the DCEU for, all intents and purposes, the Kevin Feige of DC, you need someone who is really well versed in how this town operates. And this is not a normal town. Hollywood is a strange place to navigate. You got to have lots of contacts. You got to be well liked. And it sounds like Dan Lin is. As you continue on here, you see here, if he takes over, he'll replace Hamada, who joined DC in 2018. And we can say this, Hamada was a little low key, right? It even says that here. But he did say, let's go with a Todd Phillips Taxi Driver meets, King of Comedy Joker. That's a plus. He greenlit the Batman with Matt Reeves. So it's not like Hamada was a total bomb, okay? Built relationships with talent like James Gunn, who is very talented. I think we can all agree. So it's not a total miss for Hamada, but they clearly want someone who is a little more, I would say younger for sure. That's number one. Number two, certainly plugged into the city, into the town, and Lynn sounds like he is. But that's an interesting direction. We'll see what happens over the next few days. If they're already talking about it, that means Warner Brothers has tipped their hand. And I would say this, that Warner Brothers has very clearly identified Dan Lin as one of, if not the guy, to take over DC. The trades would not be running with this today if that had not emerged from Warner Brothers, okay? Sources inside confirming it, because otherwise this doesn't come out. I would expect that Dan Lin's going to be the guy. We'll see what happens, but I think we can all agree that DC needs to have a Kevin Feige-esque person there, someone who is in charge of everything and is strategically developing the game plan, the war plan for the next 10 years, just like Feige does, even though you and I both know the Film Courage video that just released talks about this. Too much Marvel product. I don't want to watch every Marvel TV show, okay? And then go to the movies. You're asking me to do homework. I don't want to do it. So that's the problem. That's the issue they have going forward. Aaliyah, if the trades are mentioning Dan Lin, it's more than talks. That's what I just said. I didn't even see your comment till now. I would say it's very close. They're probably talking about a deal. He has a production company. Dan Lin has a production company, and it is called, let's see where it is, Rideback. His name of the production company is Rideback. Here's the issue. When you have a production company and you're going to go work for Warner Brothers in a capacity of, a studio head, essentially, he's going to be a head of the president of Warner Brothers Pictures. He's going to answer to no one. So you need to be relieved of all your attachments. So they're probably working that out to get his production company, this Rideback, out of the way. And I'm sure Warner Brothers can absorb it some way, and then he'll just step aside, because the money that's involved here to be the Kevin Feige DC guy is going to be way more money even than a production company, which, by the way, is a lot of cash. He's going to be looking for a deal that's going to pay him tens of millions of dollars a year. Okay, because it's that important of a job. I would love to know what Kevin Feige gets paid. It's got to be an insane, like literally the amount of he's worth it, except for the TV shows. They got to cut that back. But he's proven to be worth the money. But I mean, this is a major job. So we'll see what happens. But if he's being mentioned, I agree. It's going to probably happen. Joshua, good evening to you. I hope Dan Lin has a bunch of liquor handy. He's going to need it. I mean, people are all over Zaslav. Listen, here's one thing I want to make sure that everyone understands. When you're in the corporate world, and I've worked in companies that are very corporate, okay? I don't really enjoy that whole structure. But when you work in the corporate world, someone like Zaslav, that's just, those guys are everywhere in that world, okay? It's not like Zaslav is some unique unicorn of a person working at a studio / any company as the CEO that's making these decisions that are different than any other CEO makes. They're just more visible, right? But that doesn't mean that these decisions are wrong if they are business decisions. Now, I understand that a lot of you are bummed that a show gets canceled. Like a show that you watch, you just got rid of a whole bunch of Cartoon Network stuff. He's like, okay, let's get rid of this. Let's focus on that. But here's the reality of it. If you're not making money from the product, then you have to ask yourself, why are we doing it? You might love it, and we love you as a fan, but ultimately, if you're losing money or not really gaining anything financially from it, then it makes sense to get rid of something. I know as a fan, that's hard to wrap your head around, but from a business standpoint, it makes perfect sense. So you can't judge everything based on the artistic merits of things. You have to understand this is a business. It is show business. So I just get kind of lost when people don't understand that. I understand you're passionate, but you still need to get that it is a business. Okay. So that's just how it goes, man. And the people that worked on Batgirl, I know a lot of them are bummed. They're showing it right down the street. Trust me when I say I want to crash the screening. They're showing it to everyone involved. And I saw a bunch of people involved saying, hey, we worked on this. It's terrible that it's getting, can you please let it live? Listen, okay, if you've been around Hollywood long enough, you guys know this town is cutthroat. I can't say that enough. People will stab you in the back faster than you can. Boom, damn. You're going to enter me in a second. That's this town. So you have to understand as an actor, actress, producer, whoever you are, things get canceled. It's part of the world. You move on. You don't want to create enemies because this town is small too. Everyone talks to each other. So if you are on the, people start saying this guy's impossible to work with, you're dead. I mean, look at me after I did my review of The Gray Man. Hold on. My review of the popcorn box from the premiere, The Gray Man. When I destroyed this film, I have not heard back from Netflix. Do I expect to? No. But the film's terrible. That said, there'll probably be an awards film from Netflix, White Noise, Barda, whatever it is, that'll be very good and I'll like it. And then like, can I get back in your good graces? So listen, ultimately, this town is small. Everyone knows everybody, and you just have to move on. Okay, I know your film was canceled. It sucks. But yeah, it's just what it is. Gabriel, just remembered, didn't have enough time for the last live for you to read my comment, but I did mention Dune also premiered out of competition at Venice Film Festival as well as Don't Worry, Darling. Yes, so Dune was out of competition. I said Don't Worry, Darling is. Listen, we're going to find out. Here's my issue with Don't Worry, Darling. Let's take a side note here. I'm not sure that Harry Styles is ready for this. It's a big performance, right? He is going to be, along with Florence Pugh, who we can agree is one of the best young actresses going. When you're with her in a scene, like I watched the scene where he's saying, we can lose it all. And I'm going, this is not as good as Florence Pugh. That's my concern, that we're going to get a situation where Harry Styles is in over his head. Now, I haven't seen it yet. I'm going to see it. But I think that's the concern for everybody here, is that will be an issue. Because when we watch films, how often do you watch a performance and go, that was bad? It's rare. Think about it. In film. In television, you see more. But once you reach the film world, you should be a damn good actor. And you shouldn't stand out as far as, I don't know if that guy belongs in this film. We see it from time to time. Tom Hanks and Elvis, for God's sake. But Tom Hanks is a great actor. He just wasn't good in Elvis. But Harry Styles, Dunkirk, okay, very small role. What was the other thing? He's doing My Policeman that's coming out this year. He did something. He's only done little things. So when you start to lean on him to do bigger things, we're going to find out if he's ready. He needs to be ready, because this town, in addition to being cutthroat, is unforgiving. If you have a bad performance and everyone savages Harry Styles coming out of Don't Worry, Darling, his career could be, I'm not going to say over, but it's going to be damaged. It's going to take a hit. It's going to start, water's coming in, because you have to be able to deliver the goods when you are in a major motion picture film. If they ever cast me in a film, Eric, if I suck, it's over. It is over. You have to hold your own in a film. You cannot be average, right? You just can't be average. Ken Murray, Film Twitter is a prime example of not understanding business. Film Twitter thinks their opinions matter. Something will bomb and they are shocked. This is a wonderful topic. I would love to just drill down on this for the next 45 minutes. Listen, Film Twitter, we get your passion. We understand that you love this, but this is a business. And as such, if what you love is losing money for the company that is producing it, there's a good chance it's going to get canceled. And you can whine and cry and stamp your feet and all that pout. Ultimately, it's not going to matter, because they're making a business decision. And I feel like some people live in like some kind of fairy tale world that it's like, it's not a business. Man, they're all business. I love so many films that were not financial successfully, and it kills me. But I also understand why they're never going to make a sequel to something that absolutely bombed, right? Name a film that bombed. There's a reason you'll never see a sequel. why do you think you see sequels? Because the movie does well. Business, money. So therefore, if your film, your show gets canceled, that's part of life. But you nailed it. Ken, 100%. They don't get it. It's, you need to be objective. That's the other thing too, ultimately. And I hope you guys get that out of me here on MMT. I am objective as hell. That is what I am designed to do. I cannot be anything but that. So when I come to you ready to trash the invitation tonight, which I was ready, I was hoping to get another Gray Man kind of thing. And oh my God, this film's actually decent. I mean, decent enough. So objectivity is everything, and film Twitter does not have objectivity very often. Okay. It's rare. It's like you can love whatever you love, but if eventually it is not good, then you need to say as such. And that's why it's best to not have a dog in the fight, as the saying goes, right? Just be a fan of everything in a way. Therefore, you are open to everything, and then you understand when something works or doesn't work, and you're fair about it. Okay. And exactly. Look, Gabriel agrees 100%. Let's gold star Ken's comment. Ken coming in with the heat. Good stuff. I love it. WB stock is plummeting. David James, welcome, by the way. Lost $20 billion in value. Warner Brothers is bleeding money, which is crazy because you're right. The stock is now at minus 20, but it'll fluctuate. It's like all stocks. Okay. But right now it's down. But what's interesting is you'd never know by going across the street from where I am and see the gigantic office complex that Warner Brothers just built, gate 16 and 17 on the old NBC lot. I sent the photos out the other night. This thing was hundreds of millions of dollars, this building they built, this office building. And they're clearly, now this was built obviously before whatever's been going on, but if they're hurting so bad, why are they building an office complex like the one that I tweeted out? Go look for it. It's insane. But it's a stock price. Therefore, they haven't really lost 20 million. They lost 20 million in market cap is what they say. Trust me, I'm not like a stock guy who sits around here. So I'm not even going to go there. I just know that it's on paper, right? But they have time to turn it around. But I think the one thing that we have to understand, you guys have to understand is that everyone seems to rail on Zaslav. I don't know the guy. I've never met him, but he's a CEO. He's going to do business decisions. It's not like he's some unique. It's not like there's another CEO. If you had someone else other than Zaslav, let's just say Joe Blow has taken over. God, that's the lamest name. Takes over Warner Brothers. I'll bet you they would make similar decisions because CEOs are all cut from the same cloth. You know what cloth that is? How can I turn a profit? Okay. So he's saying, how can I cut the fat and then turn this thing around so we're making money. And the first thing he wants to do is get the DCEU and turn it into Marvel, where everything pretty much Marvel touches is gold, right? So that makes sense. Florence is my new favorite actress by far. I love her. She is so talented. You look at a Midsummer. You look at that. What was the name of the wrestling movie? Where she played the wrestler. Great in that. She's been up and coming, and now she is legitimately a star. I mean, obviously Black Widow, she still steals that film. She is one of the best young actresses we have. Little Women. So many films that she's done recently that are on point. And she's going to be ready to go for Don't Worry, Darling. The question is, can Harry Styles match Florence Pugh when it comes time to go head-to-head? Which is going to happen, which we see in that clip, and I don't quite know if it's there. I'll know better when I see it on the big screen. That's the ultimate litmus test, right? When you see it, you go, yep, that person's a star, that person get it, that's a role that works. Like I said, this kid tonight, this Doherty guy from The Invitation, will be a huge, huge, massive star. You heard it here first. It is no question in my mind. I'm very good at seeing things that are good, and then that's going to be big, okay? That's what I think ultimately is what film evaluation is about, is recognizing when a film is going to be successful, especially in the award space. You guys know I do. Awards Ace, all the films behind me, FYC screeners. My job is to watch a film and identify where is this going to land in the awards landscape. What categories? Is it a starter or non-starter? You have to get good at that, and I think that's something I excel at, and I think that is another thing that you need to be looking for when you watch these films, to be objective and really know when something's above average, right? And that's what we're looking at here. And when you see Florence Pugh, it's exactly that, 100%. Hey, Fitness with Julian, good evening to you. Hopefully Dan Lynn brings some stability to DC, and his past comments on his Justice League movie sounds like he has a passion for it. He's got to have passion. First of all, when you interview someone like this, they got to know their stuff inside and out. If he doesn't, he needs to get up on it fast. Kevin Feige knows. If you asked him anything about the Marvel universe, he would be able to tell you, right? Any character ever in the existence of time through Marvel, he would be able to tell you. That is what Lynn, assuming he gets the job, will be able to do. You have to have a passion for it, and you can't fake passion, right? That's another thing, in doing what I do. If I came on here and didn't have any passion for what I'm saying, you'd be like, this show's horrible. And we can argue that it is, but at least there's passion. So you got to have that. You have to. DWD. Every time I say DW, don't worry, darling. I'm going to learn the acronym. Every time I look at it, I go, what? We're 10 days away from Venice. It's crazy. By the way, I'm not going to have I might have an announcement for you guys soon. I might. Running Flame 175. Given that you previously stated DC's strength is letting directors do the thing, which I have. Yes, sir. Thank you. You're paying attention, Running Flame. Instead of fitting in a box, do you think this risks Marvelifying DC in that respect? Here, I say this. I think that Lynn should be in charge of making sure the stories are where they need to go. Okay, that's his job. Now, from a directorial standpoint, I believe there is a disconnect, and there should be a disconnect between direction and screenwriting, unless the director or screenwriter, they're the same person. That's different. But if you have someone who wrote the screenplay, then you have the director sitting here, right? And the director should have the ability to impart their artistic vision on the film as long as it stays in the parameters of the screenplay. So, yes, I have no problem with Marvelifying the DCEU, but I do want to see Lynn or whoever takes over DC and runs that ship, they allow their directors to operate artistically in their own individual spaces. That's what I want, okay? And that's what Marvel doesn't quite do. They did let Taika do that for his Thor movies, and I think Chloe a little on Eternals. Sam, I don't know about Doctor Strange a little, but I'm talking full on, okay? Like Todd was afforded on Joker. Todd Phillips makes Joker his film. Okay. Now, that's going to be different because that was a standalone film. I don't know what Lynn will do about that stuff because Joker is not connected to the quote DCEU, right? So I'd still love the idea of letting these directors come in and impart their own individual takes on these things. But if Zaslav doesn't want that, then the next best case is that you have directors and you let them at least make the film in the style that they want to make them, so it's not homogenized like Marvel is. That's the hope, right? So you get a Safdie brothers to direct a film and it's a superhero film, only it breathes like Good Time. That would be badass. The problem is if you put the Safdie brothers on a Marvel movie, it's going to turn out to be homogenized and Marvelized to the point where you don't even see the Safdies very much. That's what I don't want to see DC do. Pretty straightforward. Let's go to some more comments. Let's roll down through here on this Thursday. By the way, thanks for joining the channel, and please like the channel if you would, and subscribe, which you already have, which I appreciate all of you for that. Did you see that insiders were saying that Warner Brothers Discovery may have enough money to release 2 movies this year? Don't Worry, Darling, and Black Adam. To me, this looks so fake. Like, what? Okay, so it costs a lot of money to release a film. That's why they shoved Shazam. Thank you for bringing that up. I forgot about discussing this. Shazam got shoved. Aquaman got shoved. I think that it costs so much money to bring a movie to market with all the marketing that's involved, right? You have to spend so much cash that they said, hey, let's just focus on 2. They don't have anything else. The only awards film that I see from Warner Brothers this year is Don't Worry, Darling. I don't believe they even, other than, well, of course, the Batman, if you want to bring that through. But as far as something coming up, next year they have The Color Purple and they have some other things, but I think this year is pretty limited. So they're going to focus on 2 things. Black Adam's going to cost them a ton. Wait till you see the advertising ramp up for that. We're about 2 months away from that. That'll go crazy. Who knows? The budgets are the budgets. I don't understand budgets for shit. I'm going to be honest with you, man. I'm terrible. I know how to barely budget my expenses in my life. So to expense like at a studio, I would fail miserably at that. So I can't even speak to that, but I will say that there is clearly a budget. Therefore, you have to only be able to spend this amount of money. So that's maybe why they shove Shazam. Also, you got effects going on, right? A lot of visual effects in those films. Therefore, maybe it wasn't ready. Maybe they're like, hey, it's going to be, we're rushing too much. Let's not do that. And ultimately, think about this. If you have a film and you think it's going to be decent, why would you rush it to market if it wasn't ready, right? You would just hold it. And I think you're seeing some people do that. They have a film and they're looking at it going, like Killers of the Flower Moon, which apparently is going to be shoved into 2023. Paramount is going to do a theatrical on it. Apple's like, okay, let's just hold on. There's a busy award season. We got so many films coming in. Let's just be the first real big film in next year. Even though I'd argue that Killers of the Flower Moon was kind of the first big film in this year, but they really will be the first big film in next year. Why not hold it off? I mean, why not just postpone it? If you want to do some reshoots, you want to do some final edit, whatever you want to do to the film, you don't rush it. I think that's very important. So we'll see what happens. I mean, again, don't ask, please. When it comes to budgeting, I would fail that job miserably. I saw Dragon Ball Superhero, and what experience it was. Gohan's final special beam cannon blast was elegant, dainty music in the background. Was absolute scene. The end scene was pretty cool. I don't remember which one's Gohan. This is me watching Dragon Ball Superhero. I'm like, oh, who the hell are these people and what are they doing? That's why I didn't really review the film, because it's not fair. It's made for fans like yourself, superhero movies. So for me, I'm like, okay, Gohan, is he the green guy? I mean, this is, see, I'm not going to speak. I can't speak at all to this. So I just went to see it to say, what is this? Edward Douglas is here. He's probably gone by now. I missed his call. I told Ed we'd start early today. And Edward's, by the way, I still want Edward to join us on Sunday for some box office talk. Sunday night, we're going to talk box office. And listen, Edward Douglas, since he's here, I've waited a long time to say this. I'm going to say it. Edward, this is directly to you. Many, many, many years ago, when I was still formulating my plan to get into the film, journalistic universe, I used to read The Weekend Warrior and look at the numbers and say, this guy was either dead on or this guy was crazy. So just know that The Weekend Warrior has been appreciated for a very long time. Edward has done this column forever, and we're going to talk about it Sunday. Okay, Edward, I'm going to bring you on, and we're going to talk about box office. And you've been doing this like nonstop every week, and the dedication to that, because it's a labor of love. It's passion for you. You're not getting paid to do it, right? I mean, ultimately, that proves everything. You just love doing it so much and talking about box office that I can't wait to talk about it Sunday night. Although we're going to talk about like The Invitation at 9 million. 3,000 Years of Longing at like 4, and then Bullet Train in the fourth weekend. There's not a whole lot going on, but still, we'll talk about The Weekend Warrior. It'll be fun. Sunday night, Edward Douglas is going to be joining us on Midnight Movie Talk to talk about the excitement of the box office and whatever else happens. We'll find out what's happening in New York City. We'll do the coast, New York and LA. Is this about Batgirl? No, we're not. We are done with Batgirl's over. They're burying it on the Warner Brothers lot right now. I might tomorrow try to sneak my bike onto the lot to sneak into the building. Can you imagine the security in front of that? It's like it's for the Batgirl, everyone involved in the crew and the cast and the production, and they get to watch the film, and then it's gone. They're deleted essentially, and it'll never be seen. First of all, every cell phone is going to get confiscated on the way into the screening. And then you're going to have multiple security officers perusing with their night vision. Whenever you go to a screening, they have these guys with night vision. They look around to say, is anyone on their phone? Because they don't want anyone recording the stuff and obviously pirating it. So Warner Brothers clearly has a bunch of those guys going in there today, tomorrow, however many times they're doing this. So we'll see. But again, I'm going to see you on Sunday night, Edward. And there's a lot of good. We can keep talking tonight. The Nice Guys. The Nice Guys was that's Gosling. But wait, I'm talking about what was the terrible Universal horror film from a few years ago? The Blank. And the ending was like, oh my God, this is an ending. It was so bad. I don't remember it, but that was a bad film. That's the kind of thing that you bury, not The Invitation, which is decent. I mean, Edward, it's decent, right? I didn't see what you... Okay, so can you objectively say you're objective? Alan Ng, you know me, and you know I'm objective, and you are too. That's why we get along, is that you will love a film and then turn around and hate the next film by the same director. That's how you should do it. You shouldn't always be known how you're going to react to a film. And again, I bring it back to The Invitation tonight. I wanted to trash it, and here I am telling you that this Doherty guy is going to be a superstar. It's the complete opposite of what I expected to be doing here tonight on MMT, but that's called objectivity. Edward, look, The Invitation wasn't bad at all. I was thinking the same thing. Screen Gems, like 2004. No, it's not bad. I don't know why Sony buried the film. I really have no idea why Sony said, let's just, bury this thing and not let the critics see it. It makes no sense to me why they did that. They clearly have some reason. 3,000 Years is boring. I completely agree with you, Ken. I don't know what Me Time is. I haven't watched it. Samaritan, didn't see it. They didn't even send a link. They don't want me to see it. And that's also on streaming. Remember, when a film goes to streaming, I'm out. I mean, literally, unless it's Prey that they screen at Burbank on the big screen for me, I'll see it. But if it's a regular streaming movie like this Samaritan with Sylvester Stallone, no. 3,000 Years of Longing is dull. Anyone who says that is an enjoyable, thrilling film, disregard their film opinions from the future. Everything going back and forth and back in history, because this is a very dull film. It's a disappointing film, ultimately very disappointing, because it's George Miller, which makes it way worse. Because ultimately, yes, we're being objective, but when you see George Miller's name attached to a film, you expect it to be at least very good, and this is not. This is very forgettable. It's flatline. It's a flatline film. Have I seen Orphan First Kill? Vault of the Future, I have not. I heard the twist was good. I have never saw the first Orphan, so I'm kind of lost. But no, I've not seen it. I might, because I have some A-list things to use. Do I need to see the first Orphan to watch Orphan 2? That's the question I have for you. Now that Harry is romantically involved with Olivia, makes things more complicated, interesting. Yeah, it does. I mean, listen, the whole thing's. I feel terrible for their young kids. I mean, you're looking at Jason Sudeikis and Olivia Wilde married, and now having a really contentious divorce. She gets served papers at CinemaCon. It's ugly. We'll see. I mean, the whole relationship thing. I know Florence Pugh has weighed in on it. It's really awkward. I think the worst case scenario for Don't Worry, Darling, and for everybody involved, is that it's not a good film. If it's a bad film, it's all going to go sideways for everyone involved here. So I really hope for those people involved, Olivia Wilde, obviously Florence Pugh, Harry Styles. I hope it's good. I always hope it's good. Everyone who says you want to hate a movie, I go, you're ridiculous, because at the end of the day, our job is to be objective, like I keep saying, and keep 100%. That's what I am. And we don't want to drive across town to watch a movie that's bad. I don't want to drive down to the Burbank 16 to watch a film that's bad, and it's like 5 minutes from my place. So ultimately, we are cheerleaders for the film. When I went to the Invitations night, I actually was kind of hoping it was bad. I got to be honest with you. I wanted to come out here and just destroy it for 45 minutes, but it's decent, and it's not ready or not good, but it's decent. Running Flame again. Glad to hear Invitations worth a watch. It is, and there's zero buzz because Sony buried it. But again, when you watch this film, pay attention to Doherty. That kid is going to be a star. Okay, he is a version. He's Rami Malek hybrid with Jude Law. That's what he is. He's a good looking dude, and he's very good. Pretty sure Don't Worry, Darling will be the only movie in September opening over 20 million. When you look at films, Edward, we'll talk about this Sunday. There's nothing coming up. Barbarian, and we'll talk about this Sunday. I got Barbarian at 15. Maybe pushing. I feel like it's going to build momentum. It's either going to go high or it's going to go way under. I think it's going to go high. I think buzz will be good. I do want to talk about Barbarian, but you guys know I can't do it because my main problem with the film deals directly with plot points. So it's when we have that discussion, I'm going to invite Jeff Ewing on, and Jeff saw the same thing. And Jeff is another of my film buddies out here, and he's very smart about screenplay. And when we talked about it, I go, let's hold this conversation. We're going to have it for Barbarian, and we're going to get into it. But I'm going to warn you, when we talk about Barbarian, there's going to be spoilers. So I need everyone to see the show, see the movie when it comes out on the 9th. But Barbarian has a major problem with it for me. And when I talk about it, I want to see if everyone else agrees. So you need to run out and see it, because I think you will be entertained by Barbarian. It is not a boring film. It is very ambitious. But I don't want to ruin anything until it's time to ruin it. But I'm still deciding if I want to go up or down on that film. But there's a problem I have with it. I can't wait to talk about it. Lynn's produced a lot of big movies for Warner Brothers. There's your relationship, right? I mean, the relationship, it's all built on relationships. This whole town is. Look at actors who work with directors over and over and over because they are familiar with their work. You look at Fruitvale Station with Ryan Coogler and Michael B. Jordan. Boom, turn around, they make Creed, right? Then he's in Black Panther. You have a relationship. You establish that with whoever it is. They're in your circle and you move on. I mean, that's what it is out here for me when it comes to film people. I mean, Jeff Ewing, Scott Menzel, Paul Hardister. Have I ever said Paul's last name? Paul H. Simone, all my movie Twitter friends, Chris Gore. I have a pretty close-knit group of people that I hang out with. I see people like Gone Girl out and about out here. But ultimately, you're building relationships, right? So you want to hang out with people that you enjoy hanging out with, and that's Hollywood. So Lynn has a relationship with Warner Brothers, and that is important. If you're going to be making movies with Warner Brothers, you better have a relationship with it. If Matt Reeves' tone is the baseline for Superman and Wonder Woman movies, as well as Batman, we could be looking at something magnificent here. I think you're asking a little bit much here, superhero movies, because remember, direction is all about the artistic skill of the individual who is behind the camera, right? And not everybody has that same level. It's kind of like, we talk about it all the time here, and I know some people would go, oh, it's heresy what you're saying. Not everybody's good as a film critic, okay? They're just not. You can't just say you're good at something. You have to be told and or prove that you are good at something. And I think that Matt Reeves, we know after watching Let Me In, when I see that, I go, this guy has everything. He's got all the goods you want for a director. So I knew when you give him a Batman movie, it was going to be badass. We talked about it before it opened. Some of our first things I talked about so much, first MMTs, about the Batman and how Let Me In was going to be our guide to telling us that he can make a hell of a great Batman movie. And I was right. So when you look at direction, you can't just assume everyone can do what Matt Reeves does, right? That's a big step you're taking there. That's like saying everyone can do what Fincher does. I mean, I really would put Reeves up there with the Finchers of the world, the Nolans, the Bongs, current directors, Tarantino. There's all these people, what I want to say next. Everyone say it with me. The best up and coming young director that will be a superstar here soon. I'm talking so soon. It should already be happening now. Rose Glass. I mean, Rose Glass is going to be a massive director. We're going to be talking about Rose Glass like we talk about David Fincher. I am certain of that. And when you talk about talent like that, it's very rare that you come across that. I just saw a director that I think is uber talented and will be a force to reckon with coming very soon. In fact, his first feature is really strong. Emily the Criminal, John Patton Ford. That's another hellaciously strong talent. Ryan Coogler. There's not everybody. We're not mentioning every director. We're picking the ones that are hella talented. And ultimately, if you're asking people to be Matt Reeves, that's going to be hard. That's a hard ask. It's a really hard ask. So let's hope, though, at least the tone. I understand about the tone. You still need to mat it with the right director, and that means maybe a Safdie brothers. And speaking of the Safdie brothers, wait, hold on. Yeah, Edward, okay, that's it. You're canceled on Sunday. You are canceled because listen, I have a whole thing. Go check out Film Courage. At the end of the video, I tweeted it out today. I talk about why Good Time is better than Uncut Gems. It's a really nice chunk there that I tweeted out some of it, but the whole thing. And I'll tell you what, the Safdies, as long as they keep everything on the low end, in other words, keep things less is more, they're going to be better off. I love how the Safdies direct a film. I love the urgency of it. I love the street grittiness of it. I think if you gave them a Joker kind of film, they would kill it. I mean, think about the Safdie brothers directing Joker. I mean, it might even be better. I mean, listen, I think Todd Phillips did a hell of a job. I think we can agree it's very good. But think about a Safdie brothers Joker. That'd be sick. I mean, that would be lights out. These guys are tremendously talented. I just don't like what happened with Uncut Gems. So go watch the video. I think I stated very well, and I think you guys will agree. I've had a lot of people comment. They agree because I think I'm right. I'm decent at this. I'm decent at evaluating films. Gavin, Universal doing day and date release for Hollywood Ends. Thank you. You know what? Thank you for leading us into our other topic. I almost forgot it, and you brought it here. What was Universal thinking with Halloween Ends? They're like, hey, we're going to give you Halloween Ends on Peacock day and date, just like we did with Halloween Kills. Halloween Kills, right? I always get those two mixed up. Halloween Kills, Halloween Ends. I don't understand. This is not 2021, which, by the way, at some point was like different, right? We can admit a year ago was even more. People were like, I don't know if it's safe. We're over that. Are you not? Tell me this. Are you over COVID? Are you over COVID restrictions? You just said yes. I know you. I know you said yes because we all are. And if you're not, you're part of the very small subset of people that are still living in that world. The rest of us have gone back to living how we always do. And I have not changed anything in my life 2 years on. There's not one change I've made in my life that is different today than it was in 2019. And I think that's the ideal path because ultimately life is a risk. We talk about this all the time. Life is about assuming risk and it's about not knowing for sure if something's going to work, if you're going to get somewhere safe, if this is going to come through for you. You do not know. And that's why you get up every day and you just do it. And whatever happens, happens. And I think the important part is to JKL, Matthew McConaughey, just keep living. That's the key. So I think that when we look at them putting Halloween Ends at home at streaming, people are going to movie theaters. I don't even care. Okay, I don't even care if the media starts cranking up monkeypox, Omicron, whatever they're going to do. Doesn't matter. I'm just telling you right now. It doesn't matter what they try to do now. You know and I know the game's over. Game's over. So, as such, I don't know why you're putting a film on streaming the same day as theatrical when we've been seeing that theatrical crowds are there. I mean, even this weekend, you got a movie like The Invitation, which is a nothing burger to most people, and you're still going to get a decent number, like let's say 10 million. Let's say it gets a 10. That's not bad for really nothing in the marketplace, right? It's Running Flame 175. Thank you. Great answer. I was disappointed how uncreative, strange Multiverse of Madness felt. Even the subject and director, fingers crossed. Yeah, and I totally hammer Multiverse of Madness for like the entire Film Courage video because it's very mid, right? It's a mid Marvel film, and all these people that were saying it was great. I'm like, wow, okay, listen, we can all love Sam Raimi, like we all do, but that's not a great film, okay? So again, I could go watch Rose Glass's next film, the one with Kristen Stewart, the one that's going to be about, apparently it's a story about a bodybuilder and a relate. I don't know. It sounds, listen, it's Rose Glass, but let's just say the film's not good and Rose Glass forgets everything she showed from St. Maud. Then I would turn around and say this movie's terrible. See, you can't have allegiances. You have to be almost a mercenary. You got to go into these films just like I am neutral and I am going to render a verdict based on my experience with this film only, not on my relationship with directors, writers, actors, studios, none of that. All that matters is what's there on the screen. That's it. Nothing else matters, right? 100%. Satvik, good evening to you. Thoughts on Zack Snyder's DC universe? Listen, I like Zack Snyder a lot as a filmmaker until he goes out of control with his CGI beatdowns, right? Like Man of Steel. The first half of Man of Steel is nearly a perfect film to me. I go, this is really, truly special. And then we get into the back end with Zod, and the battle goes on for an hour? I mean, it is the interminable CGI orgy, overblown action overload at the end. You're just like, I can't do this. And that's the problem I think with Zack Snyder is that he needs to learn what I just said in my Film Courage video. Less is more. That's what he needs to understand. These filmmakers just take everything and ground it. Go down a level, okay? That is more interesting to me than up a level, okay? So for Zack Snyder, the note would be take it down a level. It's the note for almost everybody, but for him for sure. I'm sure Warner Brothers wants to save some money for awards campaigns for the Batman and Elvis. That's right. Hello. literally Elvis. Elvis is going to be an awards film. So really you're looking at the Batman for cinematography, for possibly production design. It's not going to happen for director, even though I love Matt Reeves directing that. It's in for score, would be very likely. Cinematography with Greg Fraser, very likely. And then you have Elvis sitting there with Austin Butler, very likely. Baz is absolutely a candidate for best director. He's one of the best directors I've seen this year, period. So is Matt Reeves, but I think Baz has a better chance because Elvis is more accessible to the awards voters, especially Oscar voters. They're older, so they love Elvis. And then you have production design, you have cinematography, you have all these things, sound, you have all these things to work with Elvis. So Warner Brothers has their hands full. So even if Don't Worry Darling doesn't really ignite and it ends up being a non-starter award film, then you still have a situation where you have Elvis and you have the Batman, especially Elvis, where Elvis should be able to do a lot of damage for awards. I would absolutely buy a lot on buy your stock on Austin Butler for sure. Like I said on the last stream, I mean, ultimately, it's going to be hard to beat him for Best Actor of the Year for me because I'm going to put him head to head with somebody else. And I'll say which job was harder, which of these two roles was the harder role, and I'm going to say Elvis almost every time. I mean, that's kind of the thing. So Gohan is the guy that transforms with the silver hair. I already forgot the movie. So Gohan's the guy. Is Gohan the guy with the glasses who's kind of jacked, right? The jack guy. Is that Gohan? Oh no, he's the great. We're talking Dragon Ball Super, and you can clearly see I don't know anything about it. All right, continue on the comments here with 10-minute warning. 10-minute warning here on this Thursday. 10 minutes. Olivia said to Variety that Don't Worry Darling budget was $20 million, which is shockingly low. Warner Brothers putting more money in the budget than advertised the movie. This stuff's really. Here's the thing, Gabriel. So. Yeah, I mean, that's crazy. They went out to Palm Springs, built a community, right? I mean, there's CGI, but they had to build some sets. So you've got that. You got Florence Pugh. You got Harry Styles. You probably got Harry Styles at a pretty good rate. Harry Styles is not going to come in there and say, I want $10 million for the film. He's going to say, his reps are going to say, give us $2 million. And then just he's happy to be starring in the film. He's trying to build up his acting resume so he can't start asking for $5-10 million. Harry Styles is not a $5-10 million actor yet. If Don't Worry Darling opens at 25-30 and goes on to gross 100 plus, and then My Policeman turns out to be something for Amazon awards wise, then you can start asking for 5-10. Right now he's low, but 20 million for that movie. Listen, building sets is a lot of that. It wasn't the Bye Bye Man. The Bye Bye Man was not. That was another bad film. It was a Universal movie. The Happening, the something. Not The Conjuring. It was something like just a couple of years ago. The Nice Guys was my answer to a movie that people want a sequel. Oh, there we go. Thank you. We talked about movies that were good but bombed at the box office, and people were like, make a sequel for The Nice Guys. Nice Guys it just really flat box office. There's no way you're going to make a sequel to that film and have a huge budget attached because Ryan Gosling's going to ask for a ton of cash. Russell Crowe's going to ask for a ton of cash. This is what we're talking about. Artistically, you might love it, but from a business standpoint, you're not going to get it, okay? You like The Invitation. See? Look, everybody's with me. How often is that the case that I'm right? Alan, I said it's decent. It's pretty good. I mean, it's not great, but it's also not bad, Alan. That's what I'm saying. I think Samaritan is probably on Prime Video. I'm not watching it. If it's not good and it's not theatrical, I don't want to see it. And yes, you were also disappointed by 3,000 Years. I don't know why 3,000 Years is theatrical. It's going to, you're talking about a massive bomb here. You're talking about a film that's on 3,000 screens. This thing will be lucky to hit 5 million. Lucky. I don't think it even gets past 4. This thing could actually tank at a level that we have not seen since not the Teletubbies. I literally just forgot the name of the lowest grossing film that I saw in theaters. The Oogie Loves. Oh my God. The Oogie Loves and the Adventure of the Black Balloon, or whatever the movie was called. If you have not watched the Oogie Loves movie, please, that's your homework tonight. Come at me with a take about the Oogie Loves and the Big Balloon Adventure. I believe that's the exact title. It's from about 2012 or 13, and it is one of the worst kids movies ever made, and it bombed at a level that no one's ever seen. 3,000 Years of Longing could be the new Oogie Loves. There's your MMT quote of the night. Oogie Loves equals 3,000 years long, and it's not going to happen. Am I going to watch Disney's new live action Pinocchio? No. It's not going to be theatrical. I'm going to say, unless I hear it's good, no. If I hear it's really good, but here's how I know it's not. It's not theatrical. If it's not theatrical, then it can't be great. That's the answer I have. I mean, there's no question at all. Mac and Rita, I have not seen it, but I got a D plus cinema score. That was so bad. Anytime a film gets a D plus, that is really about the lowest level. I mean, Fs are so rare. I think Men got a D plus. You got this movie here. I'm not going to see it. There's no reason. You're seeing Barbarian and Pearl in the same week. Oh, tell me, when is your Pearl screening? I need to get in on that. I need to hit up the A24 reps. I cannot wait to see Pearl. X is one of my favorite movies of the year, so I have a very strong suspicion I'm going to love Pearl. I can't wait. I saw Bodies, 3 words describe it. Very mediocre execution. The film is just forgettable. In fact, I think it's annoying as hell. I mean, Bodies is not a good film. Another example of a film that people were praising, and then you go to watch and you're like, what the hell film did you all watch? And then I got my back. They got me. New York Times, LA Times, New Yorker. They all came in and said, this movie sucks. I'm like, thank you. It's rare. Listen, it's rare I'm wrong about a film. It just is. It's very rare. I know. Oh my God, that sounds so, but it's true. It's true. I've figured out the exact combination of how to evaluate a film and be objective about it, and I'm usually on the right side of things. Nick, I can't fathom how widely prestigious studio like Warner Brothers only has enough cash to release 2 more films, release a small comedy, because they burnt through it all. I mean, they spent a ton of cash on Elvis this year. The Batman cost them a lot of money, man. Think how much they did for that film promotionally. So they probably, plus, the budgets are, who knows what the Q4 budget is. But again, budgets and me, I can't really go there. But I will say that they clearly know what the budget is. They have to be aware of that. They're a business, ultimately. Even though film Twitter would say, oh, just make things that we love. Who cares about whether they make money or not? Well, that's easy for you to say. Live in your parents' basement. Did I go too far? But no, really, seriously, you guys know. I mean, come on. You can be a fan, but you can't. You gotta. It's a business. I mean, it's not that hard to figure out. I need to see another movie from Rose Glass. St. Maud's amazing. I'm so no. I'm not going to agree with you at all, Edward. No, you're watching it. You are going to be eliminated from Sunday's show if you continue. 3-minute warning. 3 minutes, and then we're out of here. And we'll see you Sunday. Thoughts on the Wonka prequel next year? Chalamet. Here's my thoughts. King is directing it. King did Paddington 1 and 2. That's all I need to know that Wonka is going to be badass. Okay, Paddington 1, Paddington 2 are 2 tremendously executed films. So as such, I see King, I see Wonka. He's going to execute it, and he's got Chalamet who can do Goofy. He's kind of the new Johnny Depp. So we're going to get a film that's going to be very strong because of King. That's easy. That's an easy question. Thoughts on The Watchmen? I'm not gonna. Here's the thing: is I need to go back and watch that film. It's been so long that I need to get after that film again. I do want to watch it again. Thank you for reminding me. Bombed worse than Delgo. What was Delgo? Was that Jonathan? Good evening to you. Welcome to the channel, by the way. I don't even remember what the hell that was, but Oogie Loves, to my knowledge, is the biggest wide release bomb of all time. It averaged like $100 per screen, if I remember correctly. And it was like in 2,000, 3,000 screens across the country back in 12 or 13. And that's why it's infamous. And it's also something you need to watch. I'd recommend you drink something very heavy, like a bottle of Skull vodka, which I still have sitting here. This is I always bring this up. This is my midsummer vodka. At some point, after watching a film that's truly horrible, we're going to drink the whole bottle here live on Midnight Movie Talk. It should have been done for this movie, The Gray Man, but for whatever reason, I didn't do it that night. I needed to after watching this abomination of a film. The Gray Man will be my worst look, he has a halo effect to him. That's about right for Ryan Gosling. He is he's a stunning man, isn't he? That's the reality is The Gray Man's terrible, and it'll be probably my worst film of the year because the editing is the worst of all time. But on a positive note, the Pearl screening is September 8th. I can't wait to see it. I can't wait to see it. By the way, tonight's skit was Watford from now the championship EFL. We're back here on Sunday. And by the way, Edward Douglas is back with us talking box office. The Weekend Warrior joins us on Sunday here on Midnight Movie Talk. Until then, enjoy your weekend. Like, subscribe. I'll see you on Sunday. Good night.